Hey guys. So, I just have one other something that I wanted to tap in and talk about. And actually, I was um, lotioning and taking care of myself, and something came to me, and it brought tears to my eyes. And I'm in like this new wave, right, of like sharing myself in the most authentic way that I possibly can. For many reasons, but for the main reason so that I can remain a human connection in such a remain attached right to my human connection in such a space and time where people are um, literally forcing us to go the other way. Um, I was thinking about love relationships, y'all, and in my master class yesterday, we were talking about the father wound and how the father wound affects the womb and essentially our feminine selves in our masculine relationships. Um, and I just thought about this because I was doing some own inner healing and I came across a point in time where I was like, I remember being in relationships with men and I remember them saying things to me like, you're so quick to just, get upset and be ready to leave. You're so quick to get ready to run and just, kind of sever the tie of the relationship, right? Um, and I had thought about the most recent person at the time that had said that, and universe, source, whatever you want to call it, started replaying multiple instances where different relationships had reminded me that the root chakra of my relationship, the fight or flight response, was a little off, right? So, in the ego, my lower self, I would say it's because those partners weren't enough. I'd say things like, you did this, you said this, you put this in front of me, and I had no choice but to move this way, right? Um, and that was like a blanket, right? You feel me, for what was really troubling my vessel. So through some more shadow work and healing, I realized that, one, I was raised by a single mother. Just it was just me and my mom, my brother, and she raised my cousin, who I essentially called my sister because she's been in my life since I was 4. And that was it. There was no healthy masculine energy in my life. Then there was my brother, right, who was I think 3 or 4 years older. I don't even know how old he is now, but I think he was like 3 or 4 years older than me at the time. Um, and he was not a healthy masculine energy in my life. He was abusive emotionally. He was abusive physically. He was just really aggressive and really really heavy and toxic on my energy. Now, so those are my first two examples of masculine. They both of them actually they love to talk about to this day how, I know it wasn't the healthiest masculine energy, but it's like, I don't really think that they've actually taken time to sit with and fully understand, what that means for them themselves, not so much what it meant for me. Now, what I realized though, y'all, was I was that little girl, you hear me, whose father, her first love, didn't raise her. Okay, didn't have much to do with her until she was, I think I was about 12 or 13, and even then it was in and out. And even then, I felt like he had more interest in my brother because my brother was older. My brother had more of a, daddy, I need him, I guess, or it appeared that he needed my father more, which essentially he needs him, but I needed him too, so there's no hate there. I think that that was a beautiful little space and time for them. Um, but he put more energy into my brother, I felt. So the little girl in me, y'all, um, wanted my dad. Like when he'd tell me, example, I talked about it in class too. He would say like he's coming. He'd call my mom and say he's coming to pick us up to spend time with me and Brand. And I would hate the fact that I knew he's coming to pick us up to work out because he was like a workout person. But it's like I would do anything to spend time with my dad. Anything for him to just stay. I couldn't understand, and nobody set me down to help me understand why my dad never stayed, why my mom and my dad never stayed, or what the concept of staying was. I just felt like, I had this huge, call it what it is, abandonment issue. Oh, there's my mango. I am absolutely about to tear it down. Um, I had this abandonment issue, okay? And I took that into every relationship, y'all, for almost a decade that I was in, because when things start getting tough, my response, which was, it may seem totally different, but it's not. I need you to understand it. It's totally the same. My response would be to leave. It would be to run, flee from the conflict, flee from the problem. Now, on one end of the spectrum, I'm a Cancer. I'm a water sign. I'm very sensitive, very intuitive. I don't like problems. I don't like arguing. I really don't. But on the other side of the spectrum, it was, just leave. Because I guess I began to believe that when my mother and my father got into their little situations, when conflict gets heavy, you just leave, right? And so I'd leave, begin again in the same cycle with somebody else, leave, begin again in the same cycle with somebody else, leave, begin again in the same cycle with somebody else. And like I said, I did that for a decade. A little bit, maybe a little bit under, but we're going to call it that, okay? And until I sat with myself and I realized that, I do want love, right? I do want love that's going to stick around and stay, and I'm deserving of it. That's where it really started to play a full role for me, because what I wanted and what I was doing were two different things. Why? Because internally, my internal compass didn't believe I was worthy of it, because I never had that experience. I've never had a masculine pop up in my life, and at that point in time, like, I had never had a masculine pop up in my life and stay because they wanted to stay. There was always a confusion that gave them leeway to leave. There was problem that gave them leeway to leave, and so I started as a measure, y'all. This is when the wounded feminine becomes too much young. I started as a measure to protect myself, already being ahead of the game. Like, when tension flares, oh cool, I already know what to do. We out of here. Oh, we're arguing, we're beefing. You're not gonna see things my way. I don't have to. That's the ego. That's the lower self. That's the broken inner child. You hear me? That really needs to sit down and understand, why don't you have connectivity in these spaces? Why don't you have conflict resolution skills? Even if you gotta tell a motherfucker to get on, even if you eat blood or not, even if you gotta tell them to shimmy, it's not working. You know, may you have the power to know that you're worthy of cutting ties with shit that don't serve you, and you're worthy of opening and creating space for everything that you want. I healed at my mother's feet to begin my womb trauma healing, and my father came and lived in my apartment and healed at my feet so that I could do my own father wound healing and trauma resolution. This, all of it makes me happy. All of it makes me so happy, because I began to see my folks through compassionate eyes. I began to see them through eyes that understood that they had their own journey, and eyes that also understood I have my own journey, and it's up to me to decide how I want to continue to navigate this. If I want things to keep showing up the way they are, or how they have for my family, or if I truly want things to change, I can be that change maker, right? So yeah, I just want to drop that on y'all and share, that the father wound definitely relates to the womb. Drop in and join my womb wellness masterclass if you want to learn more, because we are getting into all of this. It's so very important. But the father wound definitely affects how we show up as women. How our relationships show up. We're magnetizing and attracting situations where they will reflect to us the medicine that we need. My question to you is, what are your relationships that you are attracting? What are they revealing to you? What are you seeing in those spaces, right? What can you do to see more? Love you. Thanks for listening.